Welcome to Down to Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. I am Ms. Jenny. I am your astrologer. So, a couple of things. This is the March horoscope, 2023 horoscope, which is going to feel a lot like basically the spring horoscope for 2023, because there's a whole lot of themes that are just going to be present and dominating all through the spring months. Well, spring here in the United States are above the equator. Okay. This month is particularly notable because we have a couple of the heavy hitters that are changing signs. Saturn will go into Pisces, Pluto will go into Aquarius. Both of these deserve their own video because there's a lot to unpack here. But here's what I will tell you. As we go through this month with these planetary changes and a couple of other things that are happening, people will hit absolute max lunacy at this point. So here's what you can expect to see and you should be prepared to deal with. One, you should absolutely be prepared to deal with people who are really reaching and stretching the boundaries of what they can do or get away with. Believe it. Like honestly, we thought we had seen it all by now, but nope, wait until this month is over. Now, this is complicated for them. It's complicated for us because we have to deal with them, but it's complicated for them because what this brings with it are massive repercussions for this level of grabby, greedy hubris or arrogance, okay? Charity and kindness are the key words that you want to think about when you think of Saturn being in Pisces, and that's absolutely the thing that comes to the forefront this month, which is in complete direct opposition or conflict with this overreach, this selfish, what can I get away with? Well, other people are doing it, and so I can't do it, kind of stretching to see what's possible, right? It's challenging. It's not good, and it's challenging, and there will be reckoning and comeuppance for this. Believe you me, and it will happen quickly. The problem is the people who are prone to make these kinds of rash, selfish, pushing decisions where they're trying to push the limit of what's possible or acceptable or tolerable won't see that there's any problem until there's a problem for them. So try not to get too close to people who are doing stuff like that, because you will absolutely get caught up in the maelstrom of mess that will follow their nonsense. Now, one of the things you may have noticed is since February, and maybe January, but definitely February, and I'm saying this because you're going to see it all through March, especially so, is people being just wildly over the top excessive, right, and selfish, and just what I said, greedy and grabby. But the other part of that is that while Saturn goes into Pisces and it brings its own level of retribution, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it is the sign that rules the house of spiritual development. Saturn is the golden rule. Before we get there, and what we've been dealing with all through February and now into the very first week of March, is Saturn conjunct the asteroid Damocles. Now, Damocles represents the sword of Damocles, and Damocles represents the responsibilities that we must assume with conscientiousness in equal measure to the amount of power that we've been given. So misuse of power, lack of appreciation for the responsibilities that go with the power we have. All of those things, power and responsibility, are the two key words that go with the asteroid Damocles. Failure to recognize your own level of responsibility when you've been given XYZ amount of power results in your ultimate and probably immediate demise. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are a classic example. They carried Damocles on their 7th house cusp, and it was activated in February. And what happened in February? South Park lambasted them in one of their cartoons, and this has literally destroyed any, hair's going crazy, any social currency that these two have with their famous friends and celebrity pals. So they're done. They're done. Like this marriage and any clout or status or power that this marriage may have had because of the marriage it was, Damocles, is now decimated because they did not recognize the responsibilities that go with the amount of power and influence that came with that marriage. So they're a really good living example of Damocles and what to look for and what to worry about if you're dealing with it. Right now, everybody's under a Saturn Damocles conjunction as Saturn moves through the last degrees of Aquarius. So we're all dealing with the fallout of not recognizing and being responsible with the power that we receive in any situation. Obviously, when you're a big world leader and you're on a public stage, it's a little more obvious. But even in our personal lives, it is literally a matter of you've been given X amount of power over this situation or influence in this situation or over these people. Are you being responsible with it? Because if you're not, you're going to get equal measure punishment or castigation as a result. You brought it on yourself. So once Saturn leaves Aquarius, moves into Pisces, which will be around the 7th of the month, then it's over. Like there's literally no getting out of whatever karmic quagmire you find yourself in at this point, because now, like literally now you've entered the next phase of the ride and there's no getting off the boat. Like you just have to ride this out and finish it. Now, this particular Saturn entry into Pisces will also be occurring around the time that we have a full moon in Virgo. So one of the things that I would expect for this first week of March, just so you know, expect people to be more cranky, more petty, more miserable, more backbiting, more underhanded, more like all the horrible things that you hate about people, to be more of it in dramatic, living, unrelenting Technicolor. This like that we've been dealing with certainly since January and before, but definitely has been increasing momentum through February. We're going to be dealing with until May. May, I tell you, May. So buckle up, Buttercup. We got a long ride ahead of us. But the good news is if you know what's happening, it's a lot easier to manage yourself so you're not quite as reactive, which is a big challenge under these circumstances, because being reactive is just as bad as the offense that's been done to you during these months, especially under these aspects. So also too, in the month of March, what we're also dealing with is Pluto changing signs. And this is the big whoppa, the big daddy, right? But not necessarily so by itself. So Pluto's been stationing. Remember, outer planets we feel months in advance. So we've been feeling this Pluto station literally for at least 6 months, right? And now we're in the final degrees and final minutes of this change of signs, not station, change of signs. And what that would suggest is that during the month of March, we should see a major game-changing shift of power. And I know, because I looked out sometimes and I thought the same things myself too. I'm like, damn, if this doesn't look like the end of world times, I don't know what does. But the thing to remember is that it looks like it's the end of time sort of stuff happening, because we are participating in this and we're allowing this to happen, even by not facing something or dealing with something or like ignoring it, right? We're contributing to it. Okay. Children will not destroy a house unless you let them. You encourage that, you participate in that. And if you say to yourself, well, no, I didn't let the children do that. I was upstairs in the other room the entire time. I had no idea what was going on. You're still participating, because your deliberate, chosen, willful ignorance of what the children were doing absolutely led to the outcome, which is the destruction of the house. So even when you're not participating, you're actually participating, right? You still have to take some responsibility for what the outcome is, whatever these things are. So these things going on in the world, even if, and there's a whole lot of folks that love astrology and tarot cards and metaphysics as much as other people love sports and gossip, celebrity gossip, that don't want to pay attention to what's going on in the world because it's overwhelming. It's too much. I've got enough on my plate. I get it. Believe me, I get it. This is why I took some time off. Because I just, oh my God. Wow, I've hit my limit. And I can see what's going on. I get it, but at the same time, there's a point where we have to stop sticking our head in the sand, and we've got to start paying attention, and paying attention without being reactive. So calm, cool heads will prevail. There's a whole lot of hateful people out here. There's always been hateful people. There's nothing we can do about it, because hate comes from ignorance and fear. And all you can do is give them love, kindness, and understanding or information. and they can accept it or not accept it, but that's the best we can do because it's the only antidote and thing that we have to defend with, right? To fuel and neutralize hateful, ignorant and fearful attitudes and thinking that leads to hateful hearts. It's tough. It's tough because there's a whole lot of hateful people. I just can't, I don't have it in me to give them that much love. I just don't have that much love to give, but I'm working on it. Sometimes it's easier to love people from a distance, from a real far distance. I'm going to love you from over here, okay? So there's that. Keep that in mind, because remember, we got to get through this until May. May, I tell you, May. We literally have to get through this until May with all these hyper aggressive, hyper selfish, hyper just raw, chest beating maniacs who literally don't even know what the hell they're saying. They're just making noise to make noise and hear themselves scream. May. We've got until May to get through this. But March is definitely going to hit like bang the gong, right? And it's really going to be loud and clear, like what we're dealing with. Okay, so I'm going to make this really brief and short for you because listen, kids are getting we've got a skyrocketing rate of young teenage girls who are committing suicide. Just literally, these statistics are terrifying. And given everything that's going on in the world that is specifically attacking young women, and people who are attacking young women because young women are weaker because they don't know better yet. They don't know how to defend themselves yet. And all the things with legislature, with freaking old people trying to control their bodies and being way too interested in their menstrual cycles and all sorts of gross stuff that adults should not be terrorizing young teenage girls with, they're dealing with. So yeah, if I were a teenage girl, I'd be pretty damn overwhelmed too. So this is going to be a really brief horoscope for the month because I'm kind of at my limit with everybody too. And just remember, the people who make the most noise are not the majority. They're just the noisiest of us. All right. So here's some good news. Okay. So Mercury will pass through Pisces and Aries this month. It's going to be a fast moving month. And once we get past the glitchy parts, which is basically going to be the very beginning of the month up until about the 10th or 11th, things should get easier, right? I promise they'll get easier. But that first 10 days is going to be a little challenging. We'll put it that way. By the time we get down to the 14th, we're going to have a quarter moon in Sagittarius, which is a nice quarter moon. We could use a break. Today. And when that happens, yeah, so we've got a lot of nice stuff happening. Because when that happens, we're going to have Venus, 14th. There's a lot of Jupiter energy around this quarter moon. Jupiter's in Aries, fresh starts, big beginnings, people feeling passionate, all sorts of stuff. However, I will tell you those couple of days, and I'm only telling you this so you can prepare yourself for these times and plan and manage accordingly. Because if you know about it, it's easier to navigate it. From the 14th through the 17th, which is right after that quarter moon, Venus will be in those last degrees of Taurus, or Aries, last degrees of Aries. So what this could mean, because that will also be squaring Pluto, what that could mean are a couple of things. One, it's definitely going to make people fiery and passionate and really inspired and ready to go take on the world. Let's just get her done. At the same time, it will be squaring Pluto, which is also going to really drive home any deep, intense personal vendettas or issues and all sorts of stuff that people weren't aware of may suddenly come erupting into awareness. This is a great time for psychotherapy and emotional catalyst or catharsis, right? But maybe not such an easy time if you're looking to have just a nice, shallow, happy-go-lucky good time. So be aware of that and definitely be there for your friends and your loved ones, because if they seem like they're being a little over dramatic, it's probably not because they're being over dramatic. It may literally be because they're having a huge cathartic moment and there's a whole lot erupting into existence that they need to process, and they're going to need your love and support for. So think of that, especially around this quarter moon, the 14th, up through the 17th, when we're going to feel it most acutely. We've got enough people removing themselves from the gene pool that don't need to. The ones that should remove themselves from the gene pool won't go. Ugh. Um, and sadly, a lot of the ones that are removing themselves from the gene pool voluntarily and on their own volition shouldn't go. We need them desperately, but what are you going to do? So there's that. Now, as we get on through the end of the month, things will become less hairy, scary. Mercury will go into Aries, Venus goes into Taurus, which is nice, so nice. And Mars will start inching its way towards Cancer and getting out of Gemini. So what that means also is that as we get towards the second third of the month, around the 20th and moving forward, 20th to 30th, one of the things that we can expect to see is that people will be thinking more clearly, much more, straight line, direct, much more open communications. People will be feeling more settled and grounded. By the time we get down to the 26th, right, we should see a lot of this stuff calm the hell down. So all that noise, and this is the thing I'm looking forward to, all that noise from this damn Mars and Gemini that we have been dealing with for what seems like eternity will finally shut the F up. Oh my God. Wow. So Mars will slip into Cancer and it will mute a lot of that excessive noise from Mars and Gemini. Mars in Gemini is garrulous, it's talkative, it's words, it's, constantly stirring the pot and trying to start a fight. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz cloned and multiplied and left in a room, as their own little football team. Oh my God. Ugh. Anyway, when Mars gets down into Cancer around 26, that will find the waterworks on the words will finally shut off and people will shut up. And we'll have a chance to actually hear ourselves think for a change. And things will stabilize and become a lot easier to deal with after that point. Because also, too, while that's happening, Pluto will have transitioned into Aquarius, which is setting us up for the next big evolutionary leap. Now, Pluto and Aquarius has a lot to do with, one, automation, right? And for those of you who are skilled workers, right, or service and labor people, right? So it's, your cashiers, your delivery people, your warehouse workers, your all the things that don't require a college degree to do this job. You're the folks who need to be the most concerned about Pluto going to Aquarius, because Pluto in Aquarius rules automation, and anything that requires unskilled labor, including service. If you've been in a McDonald's or a convenience store recently, you're going to see a lot of automated stuff replacing the cashiers, even at the Walmarts, the self-checkouts. That is Pluto in Aquarius, and that's just going to expand and become more, which only benefits the people who have money that can invest in these companies or who own these companies. For everybody else who's got to make a living that doesn't have a college degree, this is a problem. And this is why y'all need to pay attention and really listen to what you're being told when it comes time to vote, who makes these rules and monitors these businesses and companies and corporations as they, do their thing to make the most amount of profit. The question is for who, because it's certainly not for you if they're getting rid of your job. So that's Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius also gives a lot more emphasis and power to the masses. So while Pluto's been in Capricorn, we've had a lot of emphasis on corporate power. And boy, we've seen it. Oh my God, we've seen it. We've dealt with it. We're dealing with it. Fallout from it. It's not been good. It could have been better, but people are not evolved enough yet to make better choices. So this is what we're stuck with. But when Pluto goes down in Aquarius this month, that's going to change because all the power now goes back to the people. So unions, activists, people who are doing what they believe is the right thing to do for everyone, not just their own personal self-interest or out of conceit of themselves. These are the people who are going to be the most empowered as Pluto goes into Aquarius. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. The baby boomers are all the Pluto and Leo generation. Now, a lot of the Pluto and Leo generation, the baby boomers that would have been born at the beginning of that generation, the very first baby boomers, are pretty much dying off at this point. So those that would normally be affected by this Pluto going to Aquarius, because that opposes their Pluto, they're already gone. However, if we just look at it by sign, it's all the baby boomers with Pluto and Leo are still dealing with this, even though Pluto hasn't necessarily hit the exact degree of their own Pluto. Now, I don't think that we've seen a Pluto opposed Pluto generation in our lifetime. I'm pretty sure we haven't. But I can tell you that with the Pluto and Leo generation, even just the entry of Pluto in Aquarius means that this is going to be a huge, major shock to their ideologies and their belief systems and all the things that they understand and know to be true. Now, these things could absolutely be because of their age, like literally, unfortunately, coming face to face with the realities of their mortality as an actual thing, not an academic idea, right? And believe me, there's a whole big difference between thinking about what it would be like to die and actually looking at dying right now, right? Because there's a gun pointed at your face. Two totally different experiences of the idea of death, right? So it may be that these things with boomers is because of their age, like, sure, we all know we're going to die, but for whatever reason, this Pluto in Aquarius is really going to drive home the acute, pointed realities of what it means to be done, basically, right? So that's a possibility. The other thing with Pluto and Aquarius opposing that Leo, Pluto and Aquarius will also be squaring the generation with Pluto and Scorpio. So Pluto and Scorpio generation, hang on one second, let me find it. So the Pluto and Scorpio generation is going to be anyone born between 1983 to 1995. Pluto, as it initially enters Aquarius this month, will hit the people born around 1983, 1984. They're going to feel it the most acutely. With Pluto squaring Pluto, again, there's a whole lot of revision that has to occur. And a whole lot of confrontation between your ideologies and your belief systems and what you're actually working with, or the realities and limitations of circumstances and situations that you're surrounded by. And it hits differently because it's very real at this point. It's not academic, it's real. It's the difference between thinking about what it's like to die or be dead and looking down a gun at the possibility of actually being dead. Two very different experiences when you're thinking about it and dealing with it. So the same thing with this Pluto activity, Pluto and Aquarius, whether it's squaring your Pluto because you're the 1983 to 1995 generation, or you're the baby boomers, right? The Pluto and Leo generation. This is going to be a tough couple of years. Well, actually, quite a few years. Just moving forward for many years, this is going to be tough. This is just going to be tough. Now, the good news is if you can successfully get through this and be flexible and manage this and stay strong. Ooh, talk about a stress test and strength test. If you can just stay strong and flexible and allow yourself room for unpredicted growth, right? Growth in directions you never saw coming, because it's still growth, it's still good. You can get through this swimmingly and find yourself reinventing a whole new version of yourself that's even better than you could have imagined. But you've got to do the work and you've got to allow that transformation to occur. For those of you who were born in the 60s, right? So it's going to be the Pluto and Virgo generation. Hang on one second. Let me get a year for you here. There we go. So the Pluto and Virgo generation will be 1958 to 1971. So for the Pluto and Virgo generation, this Pluto and Aquarius isn't really going to hit that hard because it's a quincunx, not really going to do a whole lot. However, my friends, for the next 2 years while Saturn is in Pisces, it's absolutely going to hit you in the places where it hurts the most. Well, that's an exaggeration, not where it hurts the most, but it certainly won't be comfortable. So Saturn will be opposing the Pluto and Virgo generation as we go through the next 2 years, starting this month in March. And when that occurs, Saturn opposing Pluto, Saturn in Pisces, Pluto is in Virgo. Saturn opposing Pluto, see, it's going to be challenging because it's going to require, if you want to get through this, it's going to require that you understand the need for your service on a greater community level. The challenge with the Pluto and Virgo generation is that you are a saddle generation, right? So you're kind of bridging a gap between one and the other, and there's a whole lot that just like, it's almost like you fell through a crack. And anybody who's born in these years probably knows what I'm talking about, even though we can't really find words for it, right? So it's difficult for the Pluto and Virgo generation, or it has been difficult to kind of find their place in the world, to feel valued. And it seems like everything that should have come to you is just kind of like literally slipping through your fingers as, you know, the Pluto and Leo generation screws everything up, and the younger generation comes up with their technology and races ahead of us. And, you know, the Pluto and Virgo kids are like, what the hell just happened? Like, where's the good part of this, right? And Virgo is the sign of service. So Pluto and Virgo, believe it or not, your generation, the key in your generation is to understand that you are a saddle generation or a bridge generation. You're literally there to act as a buffer between one and the other. And your job is to be of service to accommodate the bridging between generations and or the necessary awareness, understanding, and support between generations for evolutionary purposes. And I know this doesn't sound very glamorous because, I mean, listen, I'd rather be Bill Gates too. Or at least his wife, or Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. Whew. But I'm not. I'm Pluto and Virgo too. So the thing about it is, you got to understand that the most important, noble thing that we can do is to be of service to the people around us in positive ways, not destructive ways, which we're seeing a lot of with, well, just a lot. It's too much. It's just too much. Being destructive is very easy. A chimpanzee can be destructive. There's no talent in that, no skill, no genius. To be constructive and productive and of service in a way that elevates everyone around you without being destructive. Now, that is some damn genius. So keep that in mind, because everybody's a genius. You just got to find out where, right? So March, for the most part, is not going to be an awful month. Although I'll tell you, the crazy people are out in force. No surprise there as these planets change signs. There's going to be a lot of existential angst. I mean, a lot of existential angst as we go through the month. And for some people, it really will feel like the end times. Oh, the world is coming to an end. Which is a valid feeling. I'm not actually trying to make fun of them. I'm actually mocking myself because I've been feeling the same way. Like, oh my God, it really is the end of the world. I know it's not, but I'm still like, So there's a lot of existential angst, which means that for the people who are really like rolling in crazy clover, the most important thing we can do is to be kind and compassionate, right? Kindness and charity, Saturn and Pisces. And understand that their freak out, like literally, is because they've got tunnel vision. Pluto in the last degrees and the last minutes of Capricorn. And it's very hard to lose things that are important to you. It's even harder to lose belief systems and ideologies that have supported you through the worst times of your life. And now you get to a place where somebody's telling you it was all a lie, or even not a lie. It was just literally something somebody made up, right? Your faith was based on something bizarre, Yes, the spaghetti squid god really does exist and all the other gods don't. Congratulations. Like, if that's not enough to destabilize people, nothing is. So be patient with them, be patient with yourself, hang in there as best you can. We are reaching a turning point. We're reaching a turning point this month. But the thing about it is, like a wave in the ocean, that turning point started way back there. So that wave started way back in the ocean. And as it comes closer to us, it starts to crest. And the closer it gets and the more it crests, the bigger the wave looks. We're at the part where the wave is like right here. It's huge. And it's coming at us. Oh my God! But it didn't start here. It started way back there. So, and it will end. We will get through this. We just have to ride the wave and roll with it until it subsides and we can get up from underneath it. And that's where we're at. In March, the wave has come to a crest. Some people are going to be freaking out. Deal with them as best you can with kindness and charity, because it's a legitimate freak out. They have tunnel vision. They can't see anything except the destruction of an old world that they were living in their mind, right? And it's not there anymore. And that's pretty terrifying for anybody. So there's that. And, as always these days, be very careful and aware of where you're at in the world. And understand also, too, Sword of Damocles and Saturn. We've been all through it all through February and January and December. And it's very much about the responsibility we must assume when we take on the responsibilities of power. You can't have power without responsibility. And having power without responsibility leads to literally completely devastating consequences that you'll never recover from. You were given a once-in-a-lifetime chance at having this kind of power influence. That also came with a tremendous amount of responsibility, and you don't get second chances with that. So, be aware of that. I mean, we're not completely out from underneath it, because Damocles is still pretty damn close to Saturn, but it is changing. The worst of it is ending in like the first week of March with that full moon. And if you're wondering about the Damocles-Saturn conjunction, if I didn't say this already, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry and their wedding chart They have Damocles on the 7th house of the wedding chart. It was activated this month, or no, I'm sorry, in February. And lo and behold, South Park absolutely lambasted them and destroyed any social, what is the word I'm looking for? Social, not credibility, but creds. Well, yeah, creds or value that they had. They're done. Those two, that marriage and those two are done in terms of any influence or power they had before. It's gone now because great power comes with great responsibility. So apparently they did not use their power and influence wisely or responsibly. I don't make the rules. I just make the report. Okay, so it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. March is going to be like the windy month that it is. It's going to be very windy and active and fast. But things will calm down by the end of the month. And the noisemakers, the most important thing is the noisemakers will quiet down as we get close to the end of the month. They will not be done mischief making. We've got until May to get through with all of that, but we'll at least be out of the noise brigade, right? We won't be surrounded by bells and cymbals and squawking and screaming and, friggin' talking heads shouting and lying 26 ways to Sunday. That will honestly calm down this month, and we're so here for it. We're so here for it. So be good, be well, be kind to each other. Look out for the young women in your life and look out for the young women in other people's lives. They need our support more than anything these days. And I understand young men feel like they're under attack. Wah, wah, wah. I get it. I totally get it. But the reality is that young women in staggering spikes statistically are committing suicide. And everything that we're doing as far as the adults are concerned is aimed at attacking young women. This is not normal. So if it's not personal attacks from these disgusting middle-aged and old men chasing around teenagers and children, right? It's legislature literally designed to attack womanhood at its youth and most reproductively prime. Young girls see this. They can't not see this. They live in the world, right? And they're dealing with it. And it's not okay. It's literally out of control at this point. And it will continue to be until May. So right now, for all of our women under the age of 30, let's be as supportive and protective as we can. And understand that there are some women who are just knuckleheads, just as a sidebar, if you've been following these gym TikTok videos where these little girls get on there and they're in gyms and they're like trying to expose the creep in the gym, it's gotten out of hand, right? And the problem is they claim to be feminists. They're not. Trust me, that's not a feminist. Okay. And of course, the men are all upset because now they're not even safe in gyms. Like just you glance at a woman and she's got you on TikTok broadcasting you as a creep, right? Oh my God, it's ridiculous. So here's the thing. There are some little girls who scream feminism because it's a way of announcing social power. It's not that they understand feminism or understand the basic tenets of feminism as it applies to operation, right? And what's needed and fair in society. They just see it as a grab for power, right? Because you say you're a feminist, like saying you're a lesbian, or saying you're a rape victim. There's a whole lot of stuff you can get away with saying that gives you like this invisible shield of power. And we get that. So the thing about it, though, is understand you're still dealing with young girls. And if they're young girls who are desperately seeking validation through the eyes of other people, especially in situations like the gym, right, where they're trying to, waylay all these supposed creepers, common sense, folks. If, for example, she's in the gym, she's wearing a full face of makeup and she's wearing a sport bra and she's wearing tight leggings, like literally wedged up her behind so that the seam of the legging is literally up the crack of her butt. She's not there to work out. She's there for attention. She wants people to give her attention because she's worked hard to look like this and she wants validation that she's attention. If she's the kind of sociopath that videotapes this and puts it on TikTok because someone just happened to glance in her direction and go back to working out, she's an idiot. Avoid her at all costs. This is not a feminist. This is not somebody I'm worried about too much. This is somebody who's bringing the problems onto herself. So I understand why men feel attacked when they're dealing with women like this because, they don't, blood only operate, there's only enough blood to operate one head or the other, right? So they can get very distracted by visual things. And unfortunately in gyms, it's common for people to check each other out while you're working out because you want to see what the other person's doing. They look really good. That's what gyms do. That's what people do in gyms. There's nothing abnormal about this, and that's not creeping on people. But some people really need attention. So I get it that the young men feel attacked, right? And there are a lot of angry young men who couldn't get a date if they were a pork chop in a junkyard with a bunch of hungry dogs. oh, these are some ugly, ugly men. And I mean that from the inside out, not the outside in. And they're quick to use words like feminism, and they're hostile to women, and they twist things around to feed into this helpless, victimized feeling of young men, because the young men are still learning how to operate in the world just like the rest of us, and the rules are changing right now. So this is a really weird time for everybody. But these guys know how to like literally hook into those vulnerable, confused feelings and whip it into anger, right? And outrage, because they're how I can't win with you women, blah blah blah. But these guys are only doing it because they're so weak. They can't stand on their own. They need the company of other men to validate them that they're right, right? Which is the first time that there's something wrong. So there's that. And also, too, they're doing it because they want the likes. They want the popularity. They want the fame. They want the internet notoriety, because all those eyeballs are agreeing with them, or people are subscribing and following them. So, of course, they're whipping these guys up. Unfortunately, the problem is these guys get whipped up, get unleashed back into the world once they're off the computer, dealing with the rest of us. Not all men also means not all women. So we really have to support young girls and protect them, because testosterone is a hell of a drug. So sometimes we need to step in and shield people from each other, right? So that people don't accidentally get hurt. And sometimes it's good when we see these young girls, these young imbecile girls who are desperate for male attention, or anybody's male attention, to validate themselves, doing stupid crap like showing up in gyms with a full face of makeup, sport bra, and your freaking leggings like wedged up your butt, so literally the crack goes all the way up with a seam. Seriously, really, like who in the hell dresses like that to actually work out? So when you see stuff like that, it's okay to step in for the men, the young men as well, and say, no, you're not wrong. You're not being a creep. Like you didn't do anything wrong. She's just seeking attention. Look at what you're seeing, right? And remind them to point out, to look at the other things they may have overlooked, like the fact that she's wearing a full face of makeup in the gym, right? She's looking awfully cute for somebody who's about to sweat and be a hot mess. Just saying. So we really need to step up and start looking out for these kids, and not in a negative way that makes them hate each other. Just pointing out common sense things will go a long way, right? So that's my big speech for the day. I am going to go do stuff. I will post videos here and there when I can. I'm going to do a Saturn and Pisces video and a Pluto and Aquarius video as soon as I'm feeling better. Still struggling a little bit of depression here because the world is insane. But you, my friends, are doing awesome, and you will do awesome. And lots of existential angst out there, so be aware of it so you can navigate it and support each other through it. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.